What was really important for me when setting up my consultancy was not to exclude anyone on the basis of their income. So I've set up Nutritious Minds, which will provide monetary awards to low-income or no-income families so that they can access the support and services that I will be offering. The main aims of the charity is to provide meaningful and positive change to the lives of individuals and children with a learning and/or behavioural difference. I predominantly work with children and adults with ADHD, dyslexia, autism and other learning or behavioural differences. To raise awareness of invisible mental health conditions. To implement change and advocate equality within the education system and the workplace. Hi, my name is Dr. Rachel Gow and I'm a neurodevelopmental specialist. I specialise in ADHD. I've spent the last 4 years in Washington DC where I ran a clinical trial testing for the first time the effects of omega-3 fats in the brain function of adults with ADHD, to help children, adolescents and individuals reach their highest possible potential. Hello everyone, it's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm back in my hometown. So ADHD poses a significant burden across a wide range of domains, including educational, societal, relationships, and also creates a huge pressure on the criminal judicial system. I first started my PhD in the Department of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry here at the Institute of Psychiatry, King's College London. So nutrition is not only critical for our physical health but also for our mental health and for a child's everyday functioning in the classroom and their well-being, mood and behaviour. So one of the services that I offer is a thorough and detailed nutritional evaluation of your child. So we can test for nutritional insufficiencies. We can see if they have adequate and recommended intakes of a whole range of micronutrients and especially in terms of their omega-3 status. Being a parent to a child with a learning or behavioural difference can at times be overwhelming, can also be quite isolating. Parents sometimes feel ashamed of their child's behaviour. Oftentimes the child is getting into trouble a lot at school and you get that dreaded phone call from the teacher telling you what's happened during the day, and then also on top of that your child isn't invited on play dates or isn't invited to the birthday parties. All of this can be pretty overwhelming for any parent. I understand, I've been there. Life as a young first-time mum took a rather unexpected turn for me when my own son was diagnosed with both ADHD and dyslexia aged around 9. Back then, almost 16 years ago, there really wasn't enough help out there for our situation. Receiving both diagnoses helped me as a mother better understand and validate my son's behaviour. Now I'm in a position where I can provide specialist consultancy and support other parents through their own unique journeys.
Well, Freddie has always been an overly boisterous child. Ever since he can walk, he's always pushed the boundaries. If you're waiting for a bus, he'd climb on top of the shelter. If you're driving in a moving car, he'll take his seatbelt out and jump around.
And I was having trouble with one of my children, and they have mood swings, they do things on impulse, and it was just really difficult. It was like I was banging my head in a brick wall because I just couldn't get no help.
His aggression, his violence towards myself, my daughter and my family, his problems with friendships, his inability to manage his emotions, the fact that he couldn't have a play date or go to a party because it would always end in trauma or disaster.
Hello, my name is Marion, and when I met Rachel, my son was about 12 years of age. I was having a lot of problems with him at home and at school. a lot of breakdowns with schooling and his education.
Hello, my name is Connor. I am 10 years old and I have ADHD and also anxieties.
In the end, I came to the end of my tether, and I said, you know what, I'm removing my daughter from that school because I'd rather have her at home and teach her at home. From the start of the bullying to the time that I took her out, it went on for about nearly 2 years, and she was out of school for like 8 months because I took her out for 8 months and the school were not, you know, giving my daughter adequate supplementary education.
By the time he joined school, age 4, the situation started to really deteriorate for him. Freddie managed reception fine because it's very much a play-centred environment, but unfortunately things started to go rapidly downhill for him as soon as he entered year 1, which is a much more structured learning environment. And in a class of 30, Freddie was unable to sit still, he was extremely restless, he couldn't manage what they call sitting on the mat time without disrupting children around him. And I became aware as a parent that his reading was deteriorating and actually that his self-esteem was deteriorating too. He came home constantly telling me that he felt stupid and he was an idiot.
The teachers at school wouldn't really understand why I got angry a lot, so they always thought, get over it. But it would get really worse and really worse, so that's when we had to go, and my mum thought we need to go and see a doctor.
The last 6 months of his time in year 1, I saw a rapid deterioration, with the teacher calling me to the school gates, with Freddie being excluded at playtimes and having to have time out for practically everything.
I was on tender hooks every day, like if the phone goes, if it's the school, do I have to go in and pick him up? There was always problems with him. He didn't seem to fit in very well into mainstream school.
I was contacted regularly by the school. At its worst, I was going in 3 or 4 times a week, and the teachers rapidly seemed to be at a loss as how to deal with him. They said he was overly boisterous, he was refusing to listen, and that he was answering back, and that he wasn't taking responsibility for himself in a way which they expected. After realising that I had a problem with Freddie and believing that it was not home-based, I found myself quite isolated and in a little bit of a vulnerable position because I didn't feel that I was getting any support other than being actually blamed for Freddie's problems. By May of this year, it's safe to say that I was absolutely at my wit's end. My family was well and truly fractured with the problems that we had been having. My work and business were suffering because I wasn't able to give it any due care or attention. My relationship with my daughter, who is 17 months younger than Freddie, was deteriorating rapidly, and my mental health was also deteriorating because of this. I felt as though my best wasn't good enough, and if my best wasn't good enough, I didn't know how or where to turn. We
were going for an appeal because they turned down, you know, a move to move school, and you know, she against all odds, she got my daughter moved to the school of our choice.
Fortunately, we actually won the tribunal, and my son was then able to go to the special educational needs school of our choice, or my choice.
Fortunately, at this point, I was referred to Dr. Rachel Gow by a friend and colleague, Carly Jordan, who had also met and worked with her. I met Rachel at her house for a full and very personal consultation. Freddie was then referred for a full health check, and Rachel really stepped in as a consultant and friend and has guided myself and Freddie through the last 4 or 5 months.
When the doctor found out I had ADHD, at the same time I was like, oh, I'm quite upset, but then at the same time I was quite happy because I always wanted to know if I had it or not.
Rachel helped me to get him statemented, diagnosed, as she and a clinical psychiatrist were working with him. They found out what was wrong with him. He got a diagnosis. Also, at the same time, because he wasn't in education, she tutored him for a while. Also got him back, helped me to get him back in the education system, which took a long time. It was a long fight, but she stuck with me all the way. Rachel knew my son loved football, So she knew an ex-professional goalkeeper. His name was Melvin Capleton. And she got him to train Ezra a couple times a week when he was off school.
Dr. Gow has offered us a massive amount of nutritional support, and Freddie's diet and the diet for the rest of our family has completely changed as a result. We've now all cut out sugar completely, and I've seen the benefits for all of us, not just for Freddie.
So I went to see Dr. Gow and she put me on a special diet which really helped me, and the times I went back to school they were getting better and better. At school, every time there was bread or anything that you can have unhealthy, it'd always be either white bread, and the pasta's always white, and the puddings are always either cake or something that's sugary, and it's milk which has a lot of sugar in. I had to stop eating chocolate and sweets, and it was quite hard, but I did try, and now I don't really like sweets and chocolate anymore, which is actually good.
Freddie's brain is like a racing car without any brakes, and I found that giving him the right nutrition has completely, I'm not going to say completely transformed his behaviour, but has certainly helped, and everybody has noticed this.
So there's an explanation for the ADHD. My head's like a Ferrari, and it's really fast and good working, which is good, but sometimes the brakes aren't that powerful and they're like a bicycle, and which are the times when you need to sometimes calm down and not get angry, which is what I'm going to try and improve, but thanks to all of the doctors who have helped me.
Rachel did a lot for us. If it wasn't for Rachel, I wouldn't have been able to get him statemented. I wouldn't have got him into a school that catered for his needs. If it wasn't for me going to the charity and meeting her, my son, I don't know where he would be today.
Through Rachel, we've managed to get on track for a proper diagnosis for Freddie. 3 professionals now concur that Freddie has ADHD with dyslexia. It is a great shame and travesty that his school, even up to this point, did and do not accept Freddie's diagnosis, preferring to blame the problem on family dynamics.
Rachel has got a wealth of experience working with children with ADHD, and also she will support the parents through the process of finding the appropriate placement for your child, as opposed to them just being placed wherever the education authority wants to place the child. I mean, I was just over the moon ecstatic when we won the tribunal. It was absolutely amazing, so it was a great victory. And without Rachel's help, I just don't know where my son would have ended up.
And then I met Rachel Gow again. She called me up, and from that second, Rachel, she just took up our case, and she wrote letters to MP. She got clinical child psychologists to interview my daughter and give us a report. She phoned up the school. She sent letters to the school. As I said, the MP got involved in it, and we had another tribunal to get my daughter moved at the Turnal, and she came there, and she acted like a solicitor. I couldn't, she was like a barrister there. Me and my daughter's mother were just there, we didn't really have to kind of say much. From the start of the process to the finish of the process, Rachel, she represented us in the most professional way. She brought and documented when it was time for the tribunal, and the people on the board, they were horrified to hear the way that the school hadn't done the things that they were supposed to do. And all I can say is that if I knew anyone who was going through something that I was going through, or anything similar, Rachel would be the first one that I would send them to.
The difference between then, I was so angry all the time, and just when there was a situation, all I knew was to do was just argue, get angry. But now it's changed. I can actually be sorting it out and being no in my head. She's
thriving. She's picked her subject. She's enjoying school again. She's doing drama classes after school. She's it's like a complete turnaround.
It's not actually really bad to have ADHD. Think of all people in the world that are really famous and have ADHD, like Justin Timberlake, and he's a really famous singer now. People who have dyslexia like Emma Watson, and they're all famous. So ADHD is something really special, and it doesn't have to be something really bad.
Because of Dr. Gow's support and interventions, my son finally feels clever and happy. Every child in England deserves to have this support. Unfortunately, not all of us can afford to pay for it, but this should be free for every single child with a challenge in this country. And if I can support Dr. Gow to get there through the launch of this fabulous charity, I'll do anything I can.
Thanks to the fish oils, I am really happy now.
I can be anything, you can be anything. You just gotta free your mind, free from everything. So don't you worry yourself at all. Don't you worry yourself at all.